Chapter 3, Echoes of the Past Part 2, The Chase. The tunnels of the Undercity blurred around us as we ran, our footsteps echoing off the damp stone walls. Lyria took the lead, her otherworldly grace allowing her to navigate the treacherous terrain with ease. Grimlock and I followed, the dwarf's stubby legs pumping furiously to keep up. "We need to get back to the surface," I panted. "We're sitting ducks down here." Lyria glanced back, her black eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Agreed, but the veiled hand will be watching the usual exits. We need to find another way." "I might know a place," Grimlock wheezed, his beard flapping with each labored breath. "Old Smuggler's Tunnel comes out near the docks. If it hasn't collapsed, that is." A distant rumble shook the cavern, sending a shower of pebbles raining down on us. The tremors were getting stronger, more frequent. Whatever the veiled hand was using to track us, it was powerful enough to affect the very bedrock of Quandaria. "It'll have to do," I said, helping Grimlock over a particularly treacherous patch of scree. "Lead the way." As we pressed on, I couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of our little group. A jaded private eye, a dwarf antique dealer, and an ancient guardian racing through the bowels of the city. "So, Lyria," I called out, figuring we might as well clear the air as we ran for our lives. "Care to explain why you didn't just tell me the truth from the start? Could have saved us all a lot of trouble." Lyria vaulted over a small chasm with inhuman grace before turning to help Grimlock and me across. "Would you have believed me?" she asked, her melodic voice tinged with weariness. "If I had told you I was an immortal guardian seeking to prevent an ancient artifact from falling into the wrong hands?" I thought about it for a moment as we resumed our headlong sprint. Fair point. I probably would have shown you the door. But still, the whole collector act. The amulet that was actually a tracking device? Not exactly building trust there. "I needed to be sure," Lyria said, her voice barely audible over our pounding footsteps. "Sure that you were the right person for this task, that you could be trusted with the truth." "And am I?" I asked, genuinely curious. "The right person, I mean." Before Lyria could answer, Grimlock let out a shout. "Here, the tunnel should be just ahead." We rounded a corner and found ourselves face to face with a solid wall of stone. Grimlock ran his hands over the surface, muttering under his breath. "It's here, I know it is," he grumbled. "Just need to find the blasted switch." A thunderous crack echoed through the cavern, and the ground beneath our feet trembled ominously. "Whatever you're going to do it fast," I said, readying my wand. "I don't think we have much time." As if in response to my words, a section of the tunnel behind us exploded inward. Through the dust and debris stepped three figures, each wreathed in shadows that seemed to drink in the light around them. The veiled hand had found us. "The key fragments," one of the figures hissed, its voice like nails on slate. "Give them to us, and your deaths will be quick." "How generous," I drawled, stepping in front of Lyria and Grimlock. "But I'm afraid we'll have to decline." "Corvus Blackthorn, by the way, private investigator. I don't believe we've been properly introduced." The lead figure's eyes flared with an unnatural light. "Your insolence will not save you, mortal." I shrugged, my wand held at the ready. "Maybe not, but it might buy us some time. Now, Grimlock." On cue, the dwarf slammed his fist into a barely visible depression in the rock. With a grinding roar, a section of the wall swung inward, revealing a dark passage beyond. "Go!" I shouted, already backing towards the opening. "I'll hold them off." Lyria hesitated for a split second, her black eyes meeting mine. Then she nodded, grabbing Grimlock and pulling him into the tunnel. I turned to face the veiled hand, a cocky grin plastered on my face despite the fear churning in my gut. "Well, gentlemen, shall we dance?" The lead figure raised a hand, dark energy coalescing around its fingers. "Fool, you cannot hope to stand against us." "Maybe not," I agreed, my wand describing complex patterns in the air. "But I can sure as hell try." A shimmering barrier sprang into existence just as the veiled hand launched their attack. Dark energy crashed against my shield, the impact sending tremors through my arm. I gritted my teeth, pouring every ounce of power I had into maintaining the barrier. For a moment, it seemed like it might hold. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, my shield collapsed. I was thrown backward, tumbling through the hidden doorway. As I fell, I caught a glimpse of Lyria, her hand outstretched. The last thing I saw before darkness took me was the passage entrance collapsing, sealing us off from our pursuers. When I came to, I found myself being half carried, half dragged through a narrow tunnel. The air was thick with the smell of brine and rotting fish. "Welcome back to the land of the living." Grimlock's gruff voice came from somewhere to my left. "Thought you might have scrambled your brains with that stunt." I groaned, my head pounding. "Feels like I might have." "Did it work? Are we safe?" For the moment, Lyria's voice came from my right. I realized she was supporting most of my weight, her strength belying her slender frame. "But we cannot linger. The veiled hand will find another way around. We must reach the surface." As my senses returned, I became aware of a faint light ahead. The smell of salt air grew stronger, and I could hear the distant lapping of waves. "The docks," I muttered, finally managing to get my feet under me. We made it. We emerged from the tunnel into the bustling midday chaos of Quandaria's waterfront. The sun hung high in the sky, its harsh light reflecting off the choppy waters of the harbor and casting sharp shadows beneath the maze of piers and walkways. The air was thick with the scent of salt, fish, and the acrid smoke from nearby factories. The waterfront was alive with activity. Dockworkers shouted to each other as they loaded and unloaded ships, street vendors hawked their wares to passing sailors, and gulls screeched overhead, diving for scraps. The city's famous spires loomed behind us, their gleaming surfaces catching the midday sun and casting long shadows across the bustling port. "What now?" Grimlock asked, his eyes darting warily around the crowded docks. I straightened, wincing at the various aches and pains making themselves known. "Now, we need a plan. We have 2 key fragments and a map to the others. But so do our friends from the Veiled Hand." Lyria nodded, her expression grim. "And the Guardians of the Eternal Flame will not be far behind. We are in a race now, one we cannot afford to lose." I looked between my unlikely companions, a dwarf antique dealer and an immortal guardian, and felt a wry smile tug at my lips. "Well then," I said, "I guess it's time for Corvus Blackthorn, PI, to save Quandaria. Just another day on the job, right?"